Welcome back to the Wedding Buzz. It's your host, Sydney. And today I'm so excited to be joined by Todd from Celebrity Entertainment. Hi, Todd. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Sydney. Thanks for having me today.
Let's dive right in. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and Celebrity Entertainment?
Yes, I am fortunate to have been in the industry. This year is 25 years. I got started when I was 16 years old. Celebrity entertainment, we are kind of a best of both worlds situation because nowadays a lot of people have a hard time deciding, do I want a band? Do I want a DJ? So we do a DJ musician combination for best of both worlds.
That's so cool. And I mean, I've seen my couples picking that over and over again lately. They love the DJ and band combo. Why choose one when you can have the best of both worlds? Um, So tell me a little bit about like your journey. You said you started when you were 16.
Yes, I begged my way into a DJ company. I always listened to the radio, like the nightclubs at night. They're live at this club, live at that club. I always was fascinated by mixing and DJs and parties. I was always at the roller skating rink back in the day. That was the closest thing you can go to a nightclub when you're like 9 years old.
Yes, the
And
drink. That's so
just
cute.
one day, I was just like, I gotta get DJ equipment. I don't care what it is. I'm gonna teach myself. And then I just went every week to this DJ company that was actually in the same city that I grew up in. And guy gave me a shot when I was 16 years old and never looked back.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool that you started so young, and props to that guy for giving you a shot and look where you are today. Well, I want to ask you, like, what do you think couples are often surprised to learn about with like wedding entertainment today?
I think what a lot of them are surprised about is that the options and the opportunity that you can take, all of your entertainment nowadays. It's not just about like there's not just a DJ or just a traditional band. You can have combinations, you can do different things. There's a lot of entertainment, artistic pieces that you can incorporate to create memorable moments because a lot of weddings, I go even as a guest and it's just like the same kind of wedding, the same timeline, the same flow. They're kind of predictable. Whereas there's so many other things out there to really make yours different and more, kind of make your personality shine through your wedding as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was funny. I was talking to someone this week and I told them that I was a wedding planner and they were like, do you just like go insane every time you're a guest at a wedding? And I was like, yep. Like they were like, are you just like noticing everything that's happening? I'm like, yep. And I'm sure it's the same for you. Um, you know, watching the entertainment and just noticing what's going on when you're a guest at a wedding.
Yeah, definitely noticing all those things. And that's one of the things that I'd love to talk about is kind of fixing things at weddings before they happen. If we know what's going to happen ahead of time, kind of helping people in the industry. And if we know, sometimes the kitchen's running a little bit late, you can ask, the catering director or the planner before the DJ sits everyone down, if they're ready, if they need another 5 or 10 minutes, so you don't kill the vibe of the party where the DJ sits them down. There's no food yet. Then they're waiting on the food. So by working as a team, more of a synergy versus just like strictly to every minute on a piece of paper, it
Yeah.
really helps fix things before they happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like, of course, as a planner, I love my timeline, but it's a guide for the day and it helps us stay organized in advance. But on the day of, like you said, you and I, like you and the planner, like we all have to be a team and making sure, you know, are the salads ready to be served? Is the best man ready to do their speech? Like what what do we need to like shape and mold to make sure that the flow keeps going? And people don't think about that when they're picking entertainment. They think, oh, it's just like the music. But whoever's doing your entertainment is really like I can make the timeline all day long, but you're the one that has to execute it. And you're the one that's actually on the microphone speaking to the guests. And it makes a really big difference.
Yeah, I think a lot of brides they underestimate how much control their DJ really has. Even when you have a planner, I hear planners all the time too about like DJs they go rogue and they're just doing their own thing, not working as a team. So
Mhm.
you really want to book someone that knows how to execute an event, not just play great music. There's so much more to the music and the DJing than just what you're playing or your talent on that side. It's a lot of the behind the scenes intangible stuff that adds to the value where people leave saying it was the best wedding that they've ever been to.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. How do you keep guests engaged throughout the evening?
All right, that is a perfect question because you go to a lot of weddings, and like to me, it's too many formalities with this traditional wedding timeline. A lot of people still use it, and being in the industry for 25 years, I've seen things change, but
Mhm.
the wedding timelines really haven't changed too much. So, my issue when I go as a guest, I'm always trying to put myself in like the guest seat because, we're
Yeah.
always coming in from, the back of the hotel, but you really want to see like, all right, when you walk into the wedding venue, what is their experience going to be like? So first, creating a landing for a much better environment, for a much more engaging experience. So, for example, typical wedding, the guests, they walk in, they sit for 30 minutes before the bride walks down the aisle. Then it's another 30 minutes of, ceremony. So it's an hour of hanging around. Then it's another hour of cocktail hour. They're hanging around. Then when you finally get into the reception room, people are like, all right, let's go. But most weddings, they clap at their tables for grand entrance and they watch a slow first dance and a slow father daughter dance and a slow mother son dance. And then there's salads and then there's speeches and then there's dinner. By the time anything fun happens, you've already bored your guests to death for 4 hours. And then you say, hey, now that you're bored and you're drunk and you're bloated from like eating three-course meals and hors d'oeuvres during cocktail hour, I need everybody to dance for 2 hours straight. And
Yeah.
it's just unrealistic. I don't care if you're a marathon runner, you're not, people aren't dancing for 2 hours straight. So we found over the past, 10, 15 years that if we space things out a little bit more, it helps engage the crowd so much more because we know that people aren't starving. They just had hors d'oeuvres during cocktail hour. So
Yeah.
why not start that reception with a really fun, great grand entrance dance set, and have a combination of dining and dancing
Yep.
throughout the evening. And it fixes a lot of different issues because when you have too many formalities back to back, if something's running late, there's no space to kind of fix it or move it back or move it up. Whereas when you have dance sets, in between salads and main course and dessert, we can make the dance set shorter. We can make the dance set longer. So if the kitchen is running late, hey, how you guys doing in the kitchen? Oh, sometimes they'll say we're running exactly on time or we need an extra 10 minutes. So if they need an extra 10 minutes, no big deal. We have everyone on the dance floor.
Yep.
Nobody notices. It doesn't kill the vibe, things of that nature. So how you create that landing, to fix things before they happen. And then also how you engage the crowd. So you keep people's engagement more when it's not so many formalities, like it's like a work conference of like too many different
Yeah.
speeches all at the same time. So if you space those out, people can handle those a little bit more and they're more on the edge of the seats rather than, sitting in the back of their chair for 2 hours. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, now I need to dance for 2 hours. So that's a big piece of it, right there. And then also spacing out the formalities too. You don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to do, I think there's a big misconception with the brides where they're like, I hear this a lot. I want to get all the boring stuff out of the way so we can get to the fun part. But
Mhm.
the issue with that is you end up just boring everyone for too long and you never make it to the fun part. The older people are
Yeah.
like bored and tired, and then it just like kind of people dance for half an hour and then they start looking at their watch. But how we usually structure our events is yes, we could still do the bride and groom first dance in the beginning, but why not have, space it out a little bit so it's not three slow songs back to back. You can do the father daughter after salads, you can do the mother son after a main course. And it's also, you want to have excuses for people to keep going to the dance floor.
Mhm.
Hey, everyone at this time, please join, the father of the bride and the bride, maybe halfway through the song, because a lot of brides nowadays, they don't want to do the full song. They
Yeah.
wanna do just like a minute, have your moment, get your pictures. It's the perfect time to invite the guests to join them. Oh, it's an excuse. We need everybody to the dance floor. Now, boom, we have everybody on the dance floor engaged. We start the second dance set after main course. You know, we do the mother son dance and then same thing. A minute into it, we invite everybody to join. So by always have something for people to kind of look forward to throughout the evening, or, oh, I need to go to the dance floor for this, or I need to go to the dance floor for that. We're able to get everybody on there. And
Mm.
then boom, we have packed dance floors without, a lot of DJs will talk about like building a dance floor. Well, if you're structured properly with the timeline, you don't necessarily have to build a dance floor like that. A lot of guests are more comfortable coming to a dance floor to a slow song
Mhm.
than no one wants to be on the dance floor, the first person to a fast song. Because what if you're the first person, then nobody else comes and you're like embarrassed, like you're just standing there by yourself.
Right. That's
So by creating the landing for that and inviting people in that way, now everybody's there together, and it's a great way to start off your dance sets throughout the evening. You're typically like 4 solid dance sets throughout the event.
Yeah, no, I think that that's great. And a few things that like just came to mind while you were speaking is that people will drink at cocktail hour. And like when you're drinking, you either got to like keep it going or you're going to fall asleep, or maybe that's just me. But
No,
I'm
no, that's the thing.
like, if people drink at cocktail hour, like get it going, and then they like have to sit for all the toasts and the speeches, like they're not paying attention. I mean, I see it all the time of like maybe the first speech, they're listening, they're engaged, and then they're not paying attention. And so I like how like when you break it up, it keeps the flow going, and it's a nice pace of like bring the energy up and then slow it down, bring it up and slow it down. The other thing is that it takes a long time for the servers to serve salads to a room of 100 to 200 people and then clear all those salads. And then in the kitchen, they got to like, set all those dishes down, refill their trays of all the entrees. Like all that takes time. And like your guests don't need to just be sitting there watching the servers clear, like set the plates,
It's
clear the
usually
plates.
20 or 30 minutes anyways of
Right.
collecting the salads, the reserving everyone, so why not like, it's usually just wasted time, and
Yeah.
that's one of my pet peeves because not only financially how much, these clients are paying for these events, but emotionally, this is the only time in their life where all their friends and all their family are in the same room at the same time,
Yeah.
and it's my biggest pet peeve going as a guest and just seeing, like, an hour wasted of just nothing, people serving or just the timeline was kind of off. People, when you get that feeling where the vendors are just doing their own thing versus like working together really
Yeah.
makes a difference. And then also, like going back to creating the landing for a more engaging experience, we like to separate the speeches as well. So kind of killing two birds with one stone, where towards the tail end of salads doing the parent speeches, and it's usually just one or two, and then towards the tail end of main course, doing the bridal party speeches, maid of honor, best man. So it breaks it up a little bit. You're usually only watching one or two at a time, but they still don't feel like some brides are like, oh, I don't want to do any speeches because I don't want to waste any time or anything like that. Well, when you have the right structure, um, and your timeline is so much more efficient, you don't have to sacrifice things. You can still do those things and still have plenty of time to have fun and dance. So when you do like the dance math at the end of the night, when you're more efficient, it's so much more dance time, versus just like people will dance for half an hour towards the end and then the wedding fizzles out.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Well, I know that you've been doing this for over 20 years. So you have so much experience on like the wedding day side, but you also have so much experience from a wedding vendor side. And when it comes to the planning of it and coordinating and leading up to the wedding day. So I know that you've been working on something super exciting for vendors. So let's talk about that for a second. Tell me about, I know you've been creating a new software to make my
Yes.
life easier.
So my best friend, Fred, shout out to Fred. He's a software engineer. He's also a marketing guru. And I was telling him one day, I'm like, there's just something off with our industry. Like, we can't get it together because everyone is so on top of their one job. It takes so much time. You work with the client, 6 months, a year, sometimes 2 years out. And, you have your software, we have our software, the venue has their software. But when it comes down to the time for us to all work together, it's just like these endless random email threads where, the venue needs the certificate of the insurance and how many cars and vendor meals from us. And we want to know, what time can we set up? What's the Wi Fi? The parking instructions, things of that nature. And it's just like kind of like death by a thousand cuts, where it's just like all of these like quick emails. So I can't imagine on your end, dealing with, 10, 15 vendors every single event. And it's the same questions all the time. So when I talked to Fred, I'm like, we got to bring this all together. So VSync is our brand new website, short for Venue and Vendor Sync. And it's a great place where everyone can just upload their information to one place where you can see one view if you need to speak to the florist or if you have a question about this or that, or the venue only one time has to put in their parking instructions, their maps, their room spaces, things of that nature. And now we don't have to reach out to the venue about things that are the same every single time. So it's going to allow the vendors to spend a lot more time with the clients on the important things
Mhm.
versus, the back and forth or missed things where, we show up to the event and, we need a Wi-Fi code and we're asking the waiter and then the waiter's asking the banquet captain and then they're going to the AV team. And it's just too much back and forth where 2026, we should have this together now. So I'm so excited. I was surprised that there was nothing like this out there. We were searching for, months and I've never seen anything like it. So super excited about it. It's brand new.
That's
And planners have been really freaking out about it, just seeing how easy it is now to just collect information that they need on a regular basis from vendors.
Yeah. No, that is, I mean, that sounds amazing. I'm definitely excited to try it out. Um, I have a virtual assistant. Shout out to Georgia. Her company's I said yes. But anyway, she does like virtual assistant work for a bunch of different vendors in the wedding space specifically. And when I first started like working with her and she helps me clear out my inbox, she was like, "Girl, I see a lot of emails and you have like, but you have a lot of emails, like just from the planner's perspective of like, I'm emailing. If I have multiple brides at the same time, I usually have emails in my inbox from all of their DJs and all of their photographers and all of their videographers. Like it's, it's a lot, you know? And so this software sounds really cool to have it all in one place and a nice way to keep track. So I'm excited to try it out. Thank you for putting in the work to create this for us. Um, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, it's so exciting, especially with AI technology now. We've incorporated AI. So, for a couple examples that, like, for example, you send out an email thread, hey, vendors, I need all of your COIs. That's certificate of insurance for brides
Mhm.
that don't know what that is. I need all your COIs. And, some of them send it back right away. Some of them send it back in a week. Some of them forget to send it out. And
Mhm.
then you're constantly reminding them. And then maybe they send it, but their insurance is expired before the event date. And then got to read it. Then you got to go back and forth. So it's like constant, communication, unnecessary. Whereas when you upload your COI, well, first of all, when you drop the vendor's emails in there, they get automatic reminders every week. So you don't even have to remind them to do it.
Yeah.
They'll get an email, that your event's coming up to upload your COI. But when they do upload their COI, the AI technology actually reads it to verify that everything is correct with the correct venue information. The date is correct, all of that stuff. Even your timeline's really cool. The live timelines, you can literally just upload your PDF of your timeline and AI will convert it to our software and you can tag vendors for each action item. So hear a lot from planners like, oh, I spend so much time, with the clients and the vendors can't even just read the timeline. And I see you rolling your eyes right there. So what's really cool is the vendor can actually see the entire timeline, which usually has a lot of information on it, but they can also toggle between my specific moments that you tagged them in for their action items. So anything important to that vendor, right there. So really cool stuff right there that'll make things more efficient, for all of us working together. Because even though, I have 25 years of experience and you have many years of experience and everyone's got a lot of experience, almost every wedding, we're working with completely different people every single time.
Yeah.
So we really need something to bring us all together. And it's going to be a lot better. I'm super excited about it. Um,
That's awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to try it. I think it's going to be a really um helpful tool for all of us vendors. And you're right. I mean, I have, vendors that I love working with that are kind of my go-tos, but I don't force my clients to use one vendor over and over again like because I like them. Every client, is looking for something different. And so I always speak to my client and try to figure out, like, you know what, I think this team would be great for you, or I think that team would be great for you. But as a result, like every wedding, like you said, is a different team. Sometimes there's overlapping vendors, but it's usually a different team. And so having something that brings us all together, all in sync is so important. So I love that. Um, okay, switching back to pro tips for couples. What advice would you give couples who don't know where to start when they're choosing wedding entertainment? I mean, and that happens all the time. If I ask them, like, what do you picture for like your DJ or your band, or like, what do you want? And they're like, I have no idea.
Yeah, so first, you really wanna think about, what do you know as a bride in regard to DJs and bands? Like, when you go to weddings, are you the person where you can't tell the difference between the greatest DJ and the worst DJ, and it doesn't matter to you? Or are you someone where like, "Oh, this DJ was amazing and this one was horrible," and you understand the differences? If you don't really understand the differences, then maybe that's not as much of a priority than other things. So I usually start by telling the clients, make a priority list. Is the flowers the most important thing? Is the food the most important thing? Is it the entertainment? Once you have that down, then you kind of know where you can allocate your budget to do different things. Instagram is a good tool, but also, keep in mind that every entertainment company is just putting up their best videos. So,
I
you
like
know, a lot of times, you get a lucky crowd that's like, no matter who the DJ is going to be, it's going to be amazing. And they capture, 10 seconds of that. But that's not really, a true representation of who they are. So you're looking for consistency. For example, we had a client that was like really nervous about picking their bands. Like it mattered so much to them. They're having 350 guests. um, Cross referencing is a big deal too. So, what I mean by that is they heard about us from the venue, then they heard about us from the florist, then they heard about us from the planner. So, the more you hear, like, oh, yeah, they're great, they do an amazing job from multiple different people, not just one person, that helps out a lot. And then the best thing, if you've been to weddings or talking to friends that have been to weddings, getting their advice as well too, in combination, with all of that stuff.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, getting multiple references is definitely helpful for sure, and figuring out your priorities. I mean, it's some people are all about the decor and the photos, and they just want some simple music in the background, and that's great. And then some people, entertainment is the priority, and maybe more of their budget is going to be allocated towards that. Um,
Yeah, and sometimes, like, sometimes I'll have a bride, they call me a month before their wedding, and I'll ask them, how important is the music at your event? They're like, this is the most important thing. And then I'm like, well, why are you calling me a month before your wedding? They already spent their entire budget on everything else. So timing is a big deal as well, too. So usually a lot of our clients will be like a year out from their wedding. So 6 months to a year out. The
mhm,
sooner you can start looking is always the best.
yeah, I agree. How can couples maximize their entertainment investment?
So our industry, as you know, is all about supply and demand. And
Mhm.
everyone's always like, why are these weddings so expensive? And the reason is because everybody wants the same Saturdays, and there's only so many Saturdays to go around. There's only so many great vendors to go around. So it really just depends on your budget. So if budget's not an issue, it's more about time, how early are you starting to plan? If budget is an issue where, let's say, like going to luxury hotels, but you're not going to go to that luxury hotel on a major holiday, July 4th, because the pricing is at its max, then I usually recommend, if you like really nice things, then be flexible on your date. Maybe you have, weekday wedding, maybe you have a Friday or a Sunday or a little bit of out of season kind of
Mhm.
deal. So if you're flexible on timing, you can probably push your budget a lot further
Yeah.
than if you have to have that Saturday night. The pricing just across the board with most vendors is going to fluctuate, just like hotels or flights or things of that nature.
That's true. That's true. The weekday wedding is definitely a big saver. I've had couples do like a Thursday wedding, and what's fun is that then their guests stayed the whole weekend. A lot of them traveled from out of town. of course, it's gonna be a little harder for your guests to take off work, but, hopefully you send your save the dates a year in advance, they can plan for it. But the one couple that I'm thinking of specifically that did a Thursday wedding, like, they they got a lot of like, they had a full band, they did a lot, and because it was a Thursday, they were able to have breaks on the venue, on the catering, and they really got a lot more bang for their buck. So that is a good way, and then I also think that, like, when it comes to how about when it comes to, like, if they want a DJ and a band, but, like, obviously having, like, everything is expensive. Do you do things where it's like, okay, a DJ and a sax player? Or, like, how do you help navigate how do you help advise people on, like, what to pick and what their priority is with that?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in having both at the event in any circumstance. So if you're on like the lower budget scale, even just having the two musicians with the DJ is going to be a much better experience than a DJ only. You really can't replace the live musicians and you can't replace the DJ, the form of how they create the event with the remixes and the flow of the event. So you can start with 2 musicians and have that experience of both, or you can go up to 8 musicians, if you have the budget for that. I always say, the more musicians we have, the more tools we have to make the wedding that much more exciting.
Yeah.
But it's still gonna be a great wedding. It's something different, if you can even squeeze those 2 musicians in there.
Yeah, I think the musicians definitely just help. It doubles as, you know, music and, like, an entertainment, like, it's true. I mean, DJs are entertainment too, but it's a true, like, a visual entertainment of, like, when the musicians are dancing on the stage or, like, sometimes they, like, jump into the crowd, like, it really gets the whole crowd going. Um,
And I think a lot of people forget that when you're booking entertainment, a lot of clients think just about the dancing. But the
yeah,
dancing really is just like 2 to 2.5 hours of the full 6-hour event. And if you have the musicians, like how we utilize the musicians is we also use them during dinner as well. So to have them, we usually have the violinist roaming the tables for salads to create a different vibe there. So they're engaged. You can keep it classy and elegant, lower the volume of the music. But dinner doesn't have to be a boring part of the wedding. It can still be fun and engaging. And then a totally different vibe with the sax player for the main course, and the bridesmaids are singing along and having fun. So we were talking about how do we keep them engaged throughout the entire evening. Having different vibes or creating different experiences throughout the evening will keep them, engaged.
yeah. It becomes like dinner and a show, it's not just boring dinner, but it's dinner and a show, and, um, it really when people talk about, like, "Oh, I want my wedding to feel luxurious or, like, elevated," like, it really helps step it up a notch. Um Okay, I know when we were talking about your software, you mentioned AI, and couples are using AI a lot. Well, everyone's using AI a lot. I mean, ChatGPT is my best friend, but what do you think about couples using AI and ChatGPT when it comes to planning their weddings?
So it's a blessing and a curse. It's great tool, but you don't want to take it too seriously because AI doesn't know everything yet and doesn't know more than, people like us that have 25 years of experience. Yeah, like we had one bride one time use AI and it was like a 300 song do not playlist where like they just put you in a box and you can overly, put an entertainment company or a DJ into a box where it can hurt the party. So
Yeah.
we've always learned that, 50-50, with the client's request, with what we think is going to work best for the event, because you never know what's going to happen with the crowd, how they're going to feel that evening. And so you want to part trust your DJ, but also you want to make sure that your entertainment is asking you the right questions, not just the entertainment companies that are like, oh, we've been doing this for 20 years, so just trust us.
Yeah.
That's kind of a red flag to me right there. It's more if they're asking questions, what do you guys like? What are you into? What's your family like? Your backgrounds, your cultures? What kind of music do your parents like? When the DJ or the entertainment's asking those questions, that means that they're going to be more willing to incorporate, your personality into the event in combination with your experience. So the combination of the entertainment experience with, I always say, the client's giving us the answers to the test before we take it. So I love getting this information from the client. That combination is really the secret sauce. for the best outcome right there. So the questions that AI sometimes, and it's funny, I know exactly, you can see the little marks and when it's coming right from GPT.
Mhm.
And some of the questions are great, and some of them I'm like, well, they're not really necessarily asking the right questions. So I'll ask the clients if AI is not asking, enough questions or the right questions. Cause it's not just about what songs you're playing. It's a lot of the intangibles of running the event, the execution of the event. Cause I tell clients all the time, you know, if you give the same exact music playlist to 10 DJs, why do you still have 10 completely different outcomes of the party? And a lot of it is the intangible stuff that AI is not asking.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and I've had people, um, try to use, like, ChatGPT for, like, decor and, like, floor plans of the room, and I'm like, "Okay, that's great, except for that won't actually fit in the room," or, like, "The ceilings aren't that tall," or, "The ceilings are too tall," like,
There's
it's
so many nuances of every venue and different things going on.
yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I love ChatGPT for ideas, and, it is such a helpful tool, but it is a tool, it doesn't replace, years and years of experience and expertise. Um, what is the most memorable guest reaction you've ever experienced? Do you have anything that, like
Oh, yeah, we get a lot of great I love getting the reactions of, like, the non-dancing stuff. So, like, we've had standing ovations for our musicians during dinner. People are they're so excited, they're singing the songs, they're having fun. So a lot of reactions we get during dinner, which is great because that's usually a point at a wedding when you go as a guest where it kinda kills the vibe. So we love keeping the energy there and people excited there. And then also we have this, really cool experience called Paint by Music, where our violinist, plays the note and a line is drawn on a blank screen on either TVs or an LED video wall. And so the guests make the connection with the violinist and the screen. And when we play the song, the violinist is playing and it actually draws an animation of the bride and groom or something really cool. So incorporating, art and entertainment or some type of experience that most people haven't had before, we get a lot of really cool reactions with things like that.
that's really cool, I wanna see a video of that or something, that's really cool.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
but, yeah, I feel like it just goes back to um, creating that like show and that entertainment beyond just like pressing play and listening to a generic song. And like you said before, you can give a song list to 10 different DJs and the experience is going to be different for all 10 of those events because the way that they talk on the microphone, the way that they mix things, the flow, it makes a big difference.
Timing is everything with these weddings.
Yeah, timing. Timing is everything. Can you walk us through some of the different entertainment options available to the couple? So, if a couple is approaching you, like what are the options that they do have with you?
Yeah, so usually start with, what do they need and what do they want?
Mm,
And usually I book my clients in 2 different phases because you don't wanna put too much pressure because there's things that we don't necessarily know yet. If they know that they want us in some capacity, but they just don't know how many musicians, we usually start recommending, "Hey, let's lock it in with 2 or 3 musicians." The date's locked, you have peace of mind on that.
yeah,
And then once you see your budget with your florist and the caterer and all of the other things that they don't even know to expect, if you're still thinking about that horn section, if you still want, the lighting or special effects, we can always add that stuff on later. So by kind of breaking it up with like, all right, let me book my base things just to make sure I don't overextend myself with one specific vendor, then it takes the pressure off of them a little bit.
yeah. No, I agree. That is a good way to do things because I have couples all the time. They're like, I don't wanna commit to too much too early and, like, spend all your budget, but we have to make some decisions, and so I love that. I try to remind people, like, "Hey, let's, like, lock in this let's decide, do we wanna work with this vendor? Let's lock in the date, and then we can always add on the specifics as we go," and that goes for flowers, that goes for photography, like, you can book their six-hour package, and then as it gets closer and we figure out the timeline, be like, "Okay, we need to bump it up to 8 hours or 10 hours. And it goes for entertainment as well. Okay, let's lock in this company, a DJ and maybe like two musicians. And then once we get all the other puzzle pieces figured out, we can then just go back and be like, you know what? We have a little extra budget. Let's bump it up. Or no, we're out of money. Let's keep it as it is. But at least the vendor that you want to work with is locked in for your date.
Right, because a lot of times there's so few there's a lot of, like, okay vendors out there, like, good vendors out there. They're not like I hear people that go to weddings and, like, all the time, I'm like, "Tell me your experience, like, going to weddings as a guest, like, who was memorable? What were memorable moments? What were, like, bands or DJs that, like, you remember that they were amazing or ones that you, like, couldn't stand?" And usually the answers I get from clients is like, they were all just kind of the same. It wasn't like the worst thing I've ever been to, but it wasn't amazing either. So kind of keep that in mind that compared to how many people are having, if you think about how many people are having weddings on a weekend in your area compared to how many amazing vendors there are, there's really not that many great vendors. So booking them early, because we're commodities, with other different vendors, like some like florists, you can book, they can do like 10 events in a weekend or 20 events in a weekend. But if you want a specific photographer, specific planner, specific DJ, there's only one of that person. So booking early is extremely important.
Yep, I totally agree. And one thing that is interesting when it comes to like a good or bad vendor is usually when they're really good, it might not be noticed. When they're really bad, it's noticed. Does that make any sense? Like,
Yeah.
when the event is really smooth and, the flow is going well, people are like, "Wow, I had a really great time." And, I mean, if they're exceptional, then yes, people are gonna be like, "Wow, this is different. This is amazing." But sometimes when they're doing their job well, it's just it flows well, they're having a great time, everything's good. And it's like not always the good job isn't always noticed, but let me tell you that when someone's doing a bad job, like, that sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't know if you notice that too of, like, you know, because guests are oblivious. So, like, when things are good, the food's good, they're happy, but, like, when you get a vendor that doesn't know what they're doing, man, that sticks out
Yeah. And
bad.
unless you're a client that has been to a lot of weddings and experienced the bad,
Mhm,
um, then you're kind of a little bit naive that like anyone in the industry is going to, do a good job in some capacity where, people don't realize, anyone can really pick up a camera or buy DJ equipment. It's a lot easier to access this industry than it used to be
mhm.
many years ago. Costs have come down on equipment and things of that nature. So it's really important just not to assume that no matter who you get, it's going to be a great job for your event because I've seen some bad ones out there.
Yes, I have too. Speaking of bad, do you have any wedding day horror stories?
The thing that really sticks out in my mind is I can remember, and this has nothing to do with entertainment, but I remember, I mean, we're talking a 5-star luxury event. And last minute, or like maybe 10 minutes before ceremony, the someone on the groom side gave an envelope to the planner and said, I need you to give the prenup to the bride. And it's, yeah,
Kidding.
yeah, no, that happened. So we were like, I don't know if this wedding's gonna happen today. So yeah, no problems with prenups, but if you're gonna do it, it's probably 10 minutes
Did
before your
she sign
ceremony.
it?
I I'm not sure what happened on the other end. I'm pretty sure it got signed. The wedding happened. But yeah, bringing things like that in last minute is not a good idea.
And again, like, this isn't, like, a pro or, like, for or against prenups in general, but you don't hit the bride with it 10 minutes before the ceremony.
Yeah, if you're gonna drop a by the way, that's a big one.
That's horrible. I hope she didn't sign that. But, well, what is one piece of advice that you would like to give our listeners?
So, really just spending your time and taking your time with your entertainment, understanding that there's such a huge difference between, all of us out there. Look out for things like if someone's just sending you a PDF of like package A, B, and C, you're probably going to get a generic job. And if that's okay with you, then that's totally fine. But if you want something custom and someone that really is going to spend time with you, because again, this is the biggest day in your life where all your friends and family are going to be there at the same time. So AI is great and emails are great, but an email and AI is not going to be running your event. It's a real person. There's feelings, emotions. So you want to work with someone that, spends that time with you where you don't feel like a number. they're asking the right questions, and really want to bring your vision to life, and then incorporating their experience with the vision that you want to bring to life.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, well, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you coming and learning more about you and your business. Um, where can where can our listeners find you?
Yes, Instagram, Celebrity Entertainment Live, celebrityent.com. And then, of course, for all my planners and venues, vsync.events. We'd love to have you guys on board. And this is like, I'm all about, I love the industry so much, and I love vendors that contribute something to the industry. So this is like, I hope this is my legacy one day where I contributed, we brought everyone together, and it's, making everyone's lives so much easier to make these events, even better for the clients, that we love.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I appreciate you coming on so much. It was so nice to connect with you. And if you are listening and you need some awesome entertainment, reach out to Todd and Celebrity Entertainment. And of course, if you guys need help planning, reach out to me, delightfulplanning.com. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.